EDI stands. In this session, let's talk about ALE, EDI, iDocs. ALE stands for Application Link Enabling. EDI stands for Electronic Data Interchange, and iDocs stands for Intermediate Documents. ALE is an SAP proprietary technology that is used to exchange data between systems. EDI is more like an industry standard followed by most of the companies. Again, it is used to exchange data information between systems. And iDocs are data containers. So these iDocs are more specific to SAP. So what exactly are these ALE, EDI, iDocs? To understand their purpose, let's consider a scenario. Let's say you are into manufacturing industry and you're producing some products, and you have different vendors who will be supplying you this raw material. And to place an order for this raw material, let's say you are Dell and you'll be building these laptops, but all the components for the laptop you'll be procuring from different vendors. So you want to place an order for, let's say, 1000 Intel processors that you plan to use in building your laptop. Now these Intel processors are manufactured by Intel. You have to place an order to Intel and they'll be shipping you that items. And once you receive the items, you can start building your laptops. To place this order, you typically raise a purchase order. So in your system, you'll create one purchase order. Let's say this is Dell. And in your system, in Dell system, you create a purchase order. One way of sending this purchase order to Intel is, let's say this is Intel. One way of sending the purchase order to Intel is you create the purchase order in your system, take a print output of that purchase order and courier it to Intel. And Intel will receive it after 2-3 days. And once they receive it, they'll process your purchase order and send you the items. Just to send the information about you required so many items, just to send this purchase order, you're spending 3 days if you're sending it by courier manually. And again, once you send it via courier, Intel also needs to capture this information in their system, right? So using this purchase order, they'll be creating the sales order in their system. So somebody has to receive your purchase order and manually create this sales order in the system. And then after that, they'll ship the product, and along with the product, they'll be sending you these shipping documents and all this stuff. So for them to generate these shipping documents, they have to first create a sales order in their system using the purchase order information you have sent. So you need one manual operator who can open your purchase order received and then using that purchase order information create a sales order. Now there's one issue here, that is it takes time if you send it via courier, and second, you need one person to manually enter the same information in their system, right? And when he's entering, let's say you have placed for 1000 processors and by mistake he'll enter one extra zero, so that becomes 10,000 processors. So they'll be shipping you 10,000 whereas you placed only for 1000. So there's a human error that is possible. You cannot ignore it. Now this is the manual way of doing it. Using this ALE, EDI, you can automate this process, right? Instead of manually sending these documents, because this is something you do every day. So every day you'll be placing an order for so many items because you are manufacturing so many laptops. So you need that many processors. So every day you'll be placing some order or the other with your vendors. When you do it so many times in a day, then if you automate it, it will save you a lot of time, right? And a lot of issues with the errors that have creeped in because of human error. This was an industry-wide problem depending on this manual process. So they have developed this EDI process first. Okay. What is this EDI? Electronic Data Interchange. Now let's assume that Dell is using SAP and Intel is using some other system which is not SAP. Okay. Now the idea is that instead of manually taking a printout and sending it via courier, let's exchange this data directly. Whatever say purchase order I've created in the system, that data I want to directly send it to Intel. Okay. But since these two companies are using different systems, the same data can be represented differently, right? For example, let's say in SAP system, the date is represented as Y, 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 MM, DD. So this is the internal representation of date in your SAP system. Whereas since Intel is using non-SAP system, they could be representing the same date in a different format. So let's say their internal representation is MM, DD, YY, YY, right? Now when you created the purchase order in your SAP system, the date is saved in this format, and if you directly send this information to Intel, the Intel system is saving the date in this format, so they'll be reading your data differently, right? The date is the same, but since it's represented differently in different systems, the same information can be read differently in another system. So unless Intel is also using an SAP system, you cannot send this data directly in the same format in which you have saved in your system, right? But since you'll be doing business with different business partners and there's no guarantee that all of them will be using the same system, they could be using any system. So you have this problem of data representation. To avoid this or to overcome this problem, what these companies have done is they sat together and formed one organization where they have defined how the data should be represented. Okay, so in EDI we have different formats like ANSI X12, EDIFACT. So all you have to agree on is which format you'll be using. So SAP, this Dell and Intel will agree that okay, let's exchange data in EDIFACT format. Okay, what this means is you can save the data in any format in your system, but before sending to Intel, you convert this into this format, whatever format you agreed. So let's say in that EDIFACT, the same date is represented as DD, MM, YY, YY. Okay. So what Dell will do is they'll create the purchase order in the system, but when they want to send it via EDI to Intel, they'll convert their internal format of date to this format and transmit it, and Intel will receive the date or data in a specific format. So in this case, we are using date as an example. So the Intel will receive that date in this format. So they always know that we will always receive data in this format. So whenever there is a date field that they are receiving, then Intel is assured that they will always receive in this format. They can simply convert that to their internal format, whichever format that is, and save it in their system. Okay. So this EDI basically helps to have a common data representation. And these formats also keep evolving every now and then, they keep changing, but whenever there's a change, these companies which are using that EDI to transmit data will be updating their system to the latest format. So Dell and Intel will agree that we'll be using this particular standard or format for exchanging the data. Now this EDI is a very big topic on itself, and generally you have this EDI consultants who will take care of all these things for you, maintaining the formats, updating and everything. So these are done by EDI consultants. As an ABAP consultant, we won't be involved in all that. Our involvement will be only to extract the data from the SAP system and pushing it, or once you receive the data, you post it in your SAP system. So we create these posting programs. To understand where exactly we fit in the whole process, let's understand what is this process, how this whole EDI process runs. When we talk about ALE or EDI, there are two things. One is the outbound transmission. The second is inbound transmission. So where in outbound you are sending something to your business partner. In inbound you are receiving something from your business partner. So first let's see what is the outbound process for EDI. Let's say outbound and inbound. In outbound, you are creating something in your system and sending this to your business partner. In inbound, you are receiving something from your business partner which you will be posting in your system, right? In your SAP system. So the first step in an outbound process is you first create the application document. So For example, if you want to send a purchase order to your business partner, first you create that purchase order in your system. So in SAP, we have this ME21N transaction where you can create a purchase order. So you go there and you first create your purchase order. When you create the purchase order, that purchase order is saved in your SAP system, right? And once the purchase order is saved, using that message control, which we discussed previously, for example, we'll see this billing document example. Once this document is created, and if I go to this output, here I'll select the medium as EDI. Once I select that medium as EDI, then the EDI process will start. Okay. So the first step is you create the application document in your system, and once that is created, if you select EDI as the medium, if you are using message control, or the user, you can also develop a separate program which the user can execute to send it as an EDI document. Whichever the case may be, once the EDI process starts, SAP will not convert your document to EDI and send it. SAP will simply create something called an IDOC. Okay. Now what is this IDOC? IDOC is again the same data represented in a different way. So let's say in IDOC, we've seen that here, this is your internal application format which you are converting to EDI format, right? Similarly, IDOC is another format. So the same date can be represented in IDOC as, let's say, DD, MM, YY. Okay, so this is one IDOC format. Now, why is SAP using this IDOCs, or why is it converting it to an IDOC format? As I said, since these EDI formats keep on changing frequently, and SAP does not want to chase those standards. So every time the EDI standard changes, then SAP has to make changes to their applications to keep up to date with the new standards, right? And they keep changing frequently, and SAP does not want to make changes to their applications every time the EDI format changes. So what SAP has done is, SAP has developed their own format, which we call the IDOCs. Once you create the application, SAP will simply convert this to IDOC, and then SAP outsourced this EDI conversions to a third-party vendors, which we call EDI subsystems. So you have to install this EDI subsystem and configure it with your SAP system. To these EDI subsystems vendors, SAP has said that no matter what our internal format is, I can change my internal format. Today it is something, tomorrow it is something else. So SAP wants that flexibility to change their applications to whatever they want to change. But to these subsystems, again, if SAP keeps on changing the format, then this subsystem vendor has to keep on updating their system to keep pace with whatever SAP is changing. So every time SAP changes one application, then the subsystem vendor should update their system also to reflect the new changes SAP has done. To avoid that, SAP said, whatever changes I make to my application level, you don't have to worry, because when I'm giving the data, I'll give you this IDOC. Okay. So the subsystem vendor will always receive this IDOC, which he'll be converting it to EDI. Okay. So once the application document is created, and when you start the EDI process, first step is it will generate the IDOC, and once the IDOC is generated, this IDOC is still in your SAP system, and the subsystem, third-party subsystem, cannot access it from your SAP systems database, right? So this IDOC is pushed to the OS level. So in the application server, they can create one directory and then read the IDOC from the SAP database, convert it into one flat file, and save it in one directory in the application server operating system level. So in one directory, they'll be saving this file. Once the file is pushed to the OS level, then that file is processed by your EDI subsystem. Okay. And this EDI subsystem will now convert this IDOC into EDI transmission. So it will apply all that EDI conversion rules to translate all the data into EDI format, and then it is transferred to business partner. So this EDI subsystem will itself take care of pushing this document as an EDI transmission to your business partner, and once the business partner receives the document, they will send one acknowledgement and this EDI subsystem will update your IDOC with the status. Okay, so this is a typical outbound process. So to do an EDI transmission, the first step is you first create the application document in your system, and when you trigger this EDI process by selecting output medium as EDI, then the system will generate an IDOC which is saved in your SAP system database. Then that IDOC will be processed, converted into a flat file and pushed to the OS level and saved in one directory, and this EDI subsystem will be configured to look for that directory. So the moment a file comes to that directory, this EDI subsystem will pick up the file and process it for EDI transmission. So this EDI subsystem will pick up the file and process it, and it will also take care of pushing that to the business partner. Again, at this stage, the EDI subsystem can do the syntax check and see all the required header data or mandatory fields are passed. The data is in the correct format, right? So it will do all these validations. If there is anything wrong, then it will update the status saying that these are the errors, and you have to fix those errors and process it again. Then the EDI subsystem, if there are no errors, it will transmit it to the business partner, and once the business partner receives the document, that system will send an acknowledgement saying that we received the file, and then your EDI subsystem will update it saying that the transmission is successful. Right? So this is a typical outbound process, and the inbound process is opposite of your outbound process. The first step will be the EDI subsystem will receive the transmission, and once the EDI subsystem receives the transmission, again it will do the syntax check. If everything is okay, then it will generate the IDOC based on that document that is received via EDI, and it will push this IDOC to the OS level. So in the application server, again in that particular directory, whatever you have configured, it will place that flat file, and your ABAP program will pick up that flat file and post it in your SAP system and generate an IDOC and save it in your SAP systems database, right? So IDOC save to the database, and from the database you can read the IDOC and post that document. Okay. So in inbound, what we are doing, first the EDI subsystem will receive the transmission, then it will generate an IDOC, push it to the OS level, and from the OS level your ABAP program will pick up the file and save it to the database, and then using that IDOC, an application document is created in your SAP system. So once this step is complete, you can open the regular SAP application to see this document. So if you are receiving, let's say, sales order or a purchase order, then once the application is posted in your SAP system, then you can go to the ME21N or 23N transaction and see that purchase order in your system. Right? So this is your typical inbound and outbound process. In this whole process, our role in the outbound process, our role will be to simply generate an IDOC from the application document that is created. So once this document is created and once the EDI process is started, based on the document number, we'll read all the data from the SAP system database and generate an IDOC using that data. And after that, it is the task of the subsystem to process that and send it. So we are not involved at this stage. So our only involvement is to create this outbound program which is generating this IDOC using the document information that is saved in your SAP system. Right? So this we typically call outbound programs. And in the inbound process, our role is process this IDOC that is received and post it in your SAP system, post the application document in your SAP system. So we are creating this outbound and inbound programs. So in outbound, we are using the application data to generate an IDOC, and in inbound, we are using the IDOC to generate the application document. So in the next session, when we talk about this IDOC development, we'll be discussing how to create these IDOCs and how to create these posting programs to process these IDOCs. So our role is limited to that. In the whole process, as an ABAP developer, our role is limited to this developing IDOCs and processing IDOCs. Okay. Everything else is taken care by the EDI consultants, the functional consultants, the basis consultants. So whatever configurations, setups that are required, all these are taken care by those people. Our job is simply to develop these posting programs. Okay. So this is your EDI inbound and outbound process, right? And ALE is application link enabling, which is an SAP proprietary technology, and this is typically used to exchange data between SAP systems. So here the sending system and the receiving system both will be an SAP system. Whereas for EDI, the sender system could be SAP or non-SAP, and the receiver system could be SAP or non-SAP. So you can use it between different systems. Whereas ALE is used to push data between two SAP systems. It could be two different systems of your business partners, or if you are using this distributed environment where instead of putting all the modules in one system, let's say you have kept MM module in one system, SD module in another system, finance module in a different system. Now when a material is created, this information should be pushed to the other system where the SD module is available, right? Because when you're creating this billing document and you enter a material number, then the application should have access to that material data. So here the data is created in one SAP system, and then you want to push this to other SAP systems in your organization, right? So either if your organization is having this distributed environment, or if your business partner is also using the SAP system, then you can configure ALE to be used to exchange this data. So if you are using this ALE, since the data is exchanged between two different SAP systems, you don't need this EDI subsystem. So you can skip this step. You can directly push this IDOC. So from the application document in the outbound process, an IDOC is generated, and this IDOC, instead of sending it to subsystem for processing, you directly push this IDOC to your business partner. Because since that system, that receiving system is also an SAP system, it can understand the IDOCs and it can process the IDOCs, right? So the only difference between ALE and EDI is both use these IDOCs, but in EDI, the IDOC is sent to the subsystem for processing, whereas in EDI, this IDOC is directly pushed to the partner system for processing, right? Because both are SAP systems. So in this case also, our role is to generate these IDOCs. So once after the application document is created, you generate the IDOC. For ALE, similarly, in ALE, via ALE, if you receive the IDOC, you use that IDOC to post your application document. Okay, so in both EDI and ALE, our process is limited to creating these IDOCs and the posting programs. Okay, so that's your EDI and ALE. But again, I just gave you a brief overview. These two topics are very broad. Again, you don't need to know too much in detail about them unless you want to be an ALE consultant or an EDI consultant. Now, when it comes to this, working on this EDI, ALE or IDOCs, there are so many configurations that are set up. Okay, and as a beginner, it can be a bit overwhelming for you to remember all these various transactions we use to do different things, right? I'll show you some basic configurations that we do. On this easy access screen, if you actually type WEDI in the command bar, it will open this EDI specific menu. Okay, and here we have this display IDOC. If you want to see a IDOC, a typical IDOC, how it looks like. So this is your IDOC. Each IDOC will have these three things: one control record, multiple data records, and multiple status records. This control record will basically have information about the direction, whether it's an inbound or outbound, and status. Basic type, this is your IDOC type. I'll be discussing about this basic types and message types in the next session. And then who is the partner? partner type, port definition. So this is the basic control level information using which you can identify, or the EDA, for example, if you're doing an EDA transmission, then the EDA subsystem can identify who is the business partner to which this document should be transmitted, what is the data that you're sending in this document, right? So all this information is derived from the control record. So when I'm from the application document, when I'm generating this IDOC, I'll attach this information as a control record to the IDOC, so that the subsystem can read this control record to identify what type of document is being transmitted, what data is being transmitted, and to which business partner is this transmitted. And using these port definitions, they can identify what are the remote system details that should be used to connect to that business partner system and complete the transmission. And then all the data that you want to transfer is saved as data records. So one IDOC can have multiple data records, and in each record we call it a segment. So it can have multiple segments, and each segment will have certain information about that document. Okay, and at each milestone a status record is attached to your IDOC. So if I want to know, once I initiate the EDA transmission and I want to know what is the current status of that transmission, if it was successfully transferred or if there are any issues, then I can check this, open this IDOC that is generated and check the status record. So the first status is IDOC is generated, and then it says IDOC ready for dispatch via ALE, and then data passed to port. Okay, that means it is successfully transmitted. So in this process, at each milestone one status can be attached. So if the IDOC is generated successfully, we attach one status saying that IDOC is generated successfully. Once the IDOC is pushed to the OS level, we'll attach one status saying that IDOC is pushed to the OS level. But if there is any error at this stage, then you attach one error status saying that IDOC could not be pushed to the OS. So when you open the IDOC, we can see that, okay, this is at this step, this particular thing failed, right? Accordingly, you can fix that issue. Even while the EDA subsystem is processing the IDOC, it will attach that status. So if there is any syntax error, if some mandatory fields are missing, then this EDA subsystem can attach an error saying that this data is missing, right? So like that, at each step, one status message can be attached. So one IDOC can have multiple status messages. So IDOC will have one control record, multiple data records, and multiple status records. So when you are developing this IDOC, we'll be actually defining these segments. So what are the different segments this IDOC will contain, and what fields will each segment have. And when I'm generating this IDOC, all I have to do is map my data with the fields of the IDOC. So we'll see that how to generate these IDOCs in the next session. So this transaction you can use to see the current existing IDOCs in your system. If you click on extra settings, and if I open this EDI menu now, so WE02 is the transaction to see existing IDOCs in your system, and there are some things you have to do under this administration folder. For example, we have to create this RFC destination. Again, as a developer, we don't do that. This is done by the basis consultants. Then once the RFC destination is created, you maintain the port definition where you'll be linking your RFC destination, and then you'll be creating a partner profile. So to whichever partner you want to send this EDI transmission or ALE transmission, then that partner should be maintained in your system. So when you're maintaining this partner, you'll maintain what type of documents you'll be exchanging this partner and all this information, and which program should be triggered when you receive a transmission from that particular partner. So all this information is maintained at the partner profile level. Again, this is done by functional consultants. So we'll go through these 3 transactions, and in the next video I'll talk about the transactions we'll be using for development. So under development, you see we create these segments in WE31 transaction, then we create these IDOC types using those segments, and then we'll define message types and link our IDOC types to message types, and then we maintain certain outbound processing settings and inbound processing settings, right? So whatever programs you are developing will be configured to these things. So we'll go through these things in the next video. And in this video, let's quickly look at these 3 configurations that are required for you to successfully transmit an IDOC. Under RFC destination, if you go to SM59 transaction, again this is done by basis consultants. As an ABAP developer, you may not be having access to these transactions. For ALE, you create an ABAP connection. So while creating this connection, for example, you click on create. Here you will maintain the RFC destination name. Let's say the something, and you give the target host name, so you can give the IP address of the remote system to which you will be connecting, or if they are in the same network, like for example, as I said, if you are in a distributed environment and all the systems are in the same network, then you can also give the instance name of your other SAP system, so it will automatically recognize. So either you give the IP address or the instance name here. Based on that, you select this, and you also need to give the instance number of your SAP system. And then under logon and security tab, you maintain the logon details that should be used to log into that remote system. So typically they will create a separate user ID for this, and you'll be maintaining that details here. So when you use this RFC destination, then the system will read the remote system details here, which the IP address of the remote system, and then the logon credentials of that system, and use these details to connect to that system. For example, if I give this instance details, CR6 EH7, and save it, connection test. I think it is CR2 EH6. So whatever is the instance name of the system, you give that, and let's see. So now it is, connection is successful, so it could connect to that system. So whatever is the remote system, that details you maintain here. And once you have this RFC destination, even when you develop this remote enabled function modules or BAPIs, for example, let's say when you use this call function statement and call a function module, then it will call this function module in this system. So this function module will be executed in this system. But if this is an RFC, remote enabled function module, or a BAPI, which by default is a remote enabled function module, and you want to execute this BAPI or an RFC in a different system, then you can use this syntax, call function, your function module name, destination, and give the RFC destination name. Then instead of executing this function module in your system in which you are running this program, it will connect to that remote system using the details you maintained under this RFC destination and execute this function module in that system. So this is how you call remote enabled function module. So if you want to call a RFC of another system from your system, then this is how you'll be calling that RFC. So once you maintain this RFC destination details, then you can define this port definition. So if you go to this WE21 transaction, for ALE, you define this transactional RFC, TRFC port. So you click on this and click on create, and you can either give the own port name or generate randomly. And here you give the RFC destination name. And this port definition will be used for transmission. So when I generated this IDOC, if you see WE02, here in the control record, we have this port definition. So from this port definition, the system will know if it is a ALE, it will know the RFC destination details. However, if it is EDI, then we are pushing the IDOC as a flat file to the OS level from which the subsystem will pick it up. So for that, we create this file port. So for EDI transmission, we use file port where we maintain the directory name from which the subsystem should pick up the file. Whereas for ALE, since it is directly transferred from one system to the other in memory, no file is generated. The IDOC is directly transferred to the other system. So we maintain this RFC destination details. So for EDI, you maintain this file port. So if you look at this here, so here they are maintaining physical directory and the directory path where this particular IDOC will be saved. Okay, so this is you maintain, and once you do this, then we have to maintain this partner profile. So at the partner profile level, you'll be maintaining all these details. This you have different types of partners, so you select the partner type, whether it is a bank or customer or vendor or another system, logical system. So for example, in ALE, you're pushing from one system to the other system, so your partner is another SAP system. So you select this, and here you maintain outbound parameters and inbound parameters. Outbound parameters are used for outbound transmission and inbound parameters are used for inbound transmission. And for based on the type of document you are sending, message type basically tells what type of document are you transferring. Is it a purchase order? Is it a sales order? Etc. So based on the message type, you can maintain different configurations. So here maintain the port, your IDOC type, and if you are using message control, you maintain this message control details here, process code. So we'll see this in the next video. So this is how you maintain your partner profile. And when you're generating this IDOC, for example, if I go to NACE transaction, and if I look at this sales, and if you look at this particular output type BS01, and this is transmission medium is configured as EDI. So in the billing document, if I go to issue output to and select this output type, they have configured this program and this subroutine will be called. So if I open this program and search for that subroutine, so this code will be called when you select EDI. And here if you see, they are reading this partner profile, and from that partner profile they'll understand what is the message type, let me open, so from the partner profile they can get this information. For example, for outbound, they'll understand what is the IDOC type that is used, what is the port definition that is used, and from the port definition they'll know what is the RFC destination that is used. So they're getting all this information by reading that partner's profile. And this partner is nothing but the partner that you maintain for your document, right? So when you're creating the document, you're maintaining your partner. For example, if I go to header partners, so these are your partners. So each partner will have a partner number, and for this partner you are creating a profile in WE20 transaction. So here if I say, let's say customer as a partner and click on create, then this is the partner for which I am creating the profile. Right? And while creating a profile for this partner, I'll maintain the outbound parameters and inbound parameters. So by reading this partner profile, we can identify what document is being transmitted, what is the receiving system details, and all these details that are configured here. Right? So we'll see how to use all these things. Basically, we don't need to do anything. There are function modules. So you just pass the partner number and it will return all the information for you. So in the next video, let's discuss about IDOC development, and we'll see how you can extract data from your SAP system and generate an IDOC using that data. And similarly, once you receive an IDOC, how you can process that IDOC to post the data in your SAP system. Okay, so see you in the next video.